Hello, I am Ncedo Ludada, a qualified medical orthotist and prosthetist in East London. We started a channel. We started a YouTube channel. It's a podcast as well. It's everything. We are here to explain ourselves. You know, every time I have to talk about my career, I have to explain myself. What do I really do? Because people do not know it, especially our Black society. So tune in, listen to what we're going to be talking about. We're not just going to be talking about manufacturing prosthetics and orthotics. It's going to be more. We're going to tell you who's involved in actually doing these prosthetics and how do you actually do them. You know, students, CPOs, our fellow colleagues within the medical team. Tune in. You guys have so much to learn and hear from this podcast or YouTube channel.
Hi guys, my name is Ncedo Ludada, the co-host of our YouTube channel. The purpose for today, our episode is touching on career meeting purpose. The reason behind this topic is pretty much touching on the misconception that career often is associated with being a job. And many people often change jobs because they feel like their jobs are not purposeful. But we thought we could look at it from another perspective where career meets purpose.
There's a famous saying that says that a purposeful life is actually a rich life. And I wanted to actually dive into this to actually see what does that really mean. When you talk about purpose, we talk about you being part of a bigger vision or bigger thing or serving a bigger thing than yourself. So today we want to speak on this career meeting purpose and how does it look like? Is it actually doable? Is it just a concept that we have an idea of, or is it something that's just not doable at all? So when you talk about career, as Mr. Ludada has said, that it's usually, we have this misconception that our career is just a job that you get to in the morning. And then probably your purpose has to do probably with church setting or serving the poor. But there's no reality that your career can actually be your purpose. So today I'm going to be interviewing him particularly, and I want him to actually dive and tell us, has his career became like his purpose, or has his career met his purpose in his life? And how do you actually find your purpose in life? Because we speak so much of purpose in these days, but how do you find your purpose within your career? Because most of the time when you're starting towards a career, it's not because you are thinking about a purpose, it's because one, it was an available course, or you were told that you're good in science, so you want to study towards a medical degree. Or even sometimes it's just about the status, you know, when you're within the community, you want to introduce yourself and have these big words when you're introducing yourself. And sometimes it's just about financial freedom. So we want to talk about that and dive deep into it. So the first question really that I pose to you is, do you think that career can actually meet purpose, or do you think it's just a concept? And I'm also asking you from a personal point of view.
Okay, I think I would answer that question in two folds. I would say, like you have indicated, career is actually basically what you actually learn. You become a professional in that space, and the irony is that we often think whatever that you learn, it's not something that is natural, it's something which you have acquired, and we often don't link that to your purpose. And from a personal point of view, for me, I didn't know my purpose until I actually got into the profession. I started practicing, and I started realizing, I felt like, although I didn't know the profession before, I started feeling like, I think this is something that I'm meant to do. As we dive into my personal story, I would elaborate how I came to discover that actually this is what I'm meant to do. Although I didn't come voluntarily to it, it chose me. I was like, the more I focused on it, the more I started realizing that this is what I'm meant to do.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you're saying that the idea of purpose, we usually think it's something that you are born with. And I think it's what I've been believing all my life, that when I talk about my purpose, I'm talking about something that I wake up with, or, you know, that this misconception, these things that people talk, you know, when you are giving birth, they say that a child comes, you know, folding hands, and within those hands, they are carrying their purpose in life. And I think we live trying to find out, what did we come carrying? And I'm hearing from you that actually your purpose can be something that you learn. It's a skill that you can acquire, you know. So I'm just realizing, Guti, it's not as big. Purpose is not as big as we think is. So with just that small understanding that I have, can you define purpose for us? Just break it down in the most simplest of form. What is purpose? So that we understand that when we speak about our career meeting a purpose, what is that and what does it mean?
I think from my experience, I would say a purpose is something that is higher than yourself, that is bigger than you.
Okay.
It's something that is of higher calling. And when you identify your purpose, it's part of your self-discovery. And you only realize your purpose when it meets three items according to my experience. You kind of identify a problem that bothers you.
Okay.
And for no reason, you just find that it's always bothering you and you don't know why. You can't explain why. And there are a lot of problems that are out there, but there's this one particular one which is going to stick with you and you'll be like, I don't know what's going on, but this thing bothers me.
Sure.
Secondly, you find something that you can actually do it for free. For you, it's beyond money concept. It's beyond making money. You just find like, you know what, I'm passionate about this thing. Yeah, I mean, you can work, you can do it for free. The last one, you become also passionate about it. So once you start having those three things, to me, that's as close as possible to what you were called here to do. So for me, that's how I would define a purpose.
Oh wow. Oh wow. I'm moved. I'm shocked. I do want us to actually get into your career.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. Let's break it down.
Okay.
But first, behind any man, there's a story, there's a background we don't just wake up and you are a medical orthotist and prosthetist. There is building blocks to how you got there. And just to dive in, for people also to get a concept of how you got where you are. I do want to read your biography, but I first want you to actually speak before we actually read your biography, something that has never been done before. So my first question would be, just take us back to how you grew up. Where did you grow up? And when you were growing up, did you have big dreams of, I'm going to be this so and so, this is what I'm going to be doing in my life? Or just take us back, where did you grow up? How did you grow up? Who raised you as well?
Okay. Well, I'm a rural guy. I was raised by my grannies, both from my mother and my father's side. I'll pretty much say I was the kid on the run. You know, grannies back then, not
Okay.
these ones for today. So when it was hot this side, I would shift to the other side.
Okay.
So basically, I'm purely raised by grannies
Okay.
from both sides of my family. In the rural areas, I think in terms of dreams, I just wanted to be a civil engineer, basically.
Okay.
I wanted to be a civil engineer, and I also liked the idea of military. I kind of liked it, but it actually never materialized. So I was looking at civil engineering, but back then there were no so lot of funding opportunities. So when I finished my matric, I kind of stayed, didn't do much. I think what I did, I just had to improve my other subjects, which were not quite of the level that I wanted to do. So that's where I was in the rural areas. I think it was in my second year after I finished matric where I started getting opportunities to apply. So that's actually when I started now the journey of coming to the profession. So I'm a rural guy, through and through.
Okay. So coming to the profession, how did you get to the profession? Did you even know about the profession? I think you mentioned that it found you. So we want the finding. How did it find you? How did you become a medical orthotist and prosthetist?
I think it was in the morning. I just woken up and I heard on the radio the spokesperson of Health, Ncedo Ludada, then.
Okay.
I think he was announcing that there was a scholarship to go and study in Tanzania. If what, he mentioned it, I didn't care so long as I met the requirements for applying. So I was like, you know what, let me go and apply. I woke up, spoke to my granny, I need money to go and do copies and go and apply. gave me the money, I applied. So it was through that process, a very tedious process where you submit your documents and you're called for interviews, and there were a lot of people in those interviews, and coming from rural areas, you're seeing guys who are actually working, who were called in the interviews. They wanted to go and explore an opportunity outside of the country. So when we finished those interviews, I went home. When I got home, I actually heard that they actually called at home to verify whatever that I had said there. So that was a hope that maybe something is going to come. But remember, these interviews were held early, I think around February, March. So actually at that same time, I had actually come from another scholarship in UPE. So when it came to a time where I have to decide which one am I going to go for, it was really difficult. So I wanted to go outside of the country.
Okay.
Let's be clear. I wanted to explore that because I felt like a qualification that is outside of the country gives me opportunities as well to also go and study, go and work outside of the country.
Okay.
So I had to make a call as to which one will I take. Unfortunately, I had to drop the one of UPE because an academic year in South Africa starts early in the year, whereas in Tanzania it's starting around September. So I had to let go of that scholarship, which was kind of naive when I came to think of it, because imagine from March you turn down a scholarship from UPE and now you're waiting for something which you don't know if it's going to come. So as I was waiting, actually I thought I'm not going to be selected. So I actually got a call from Mr. Mboya, the person behind the program. I think he called me around August. And he called me, he said, you remember you did an interview in Bisho? And I was like, yes, I remember. He said, unfortunately, when he said unfortunately, I had to sit down. I had to sit down. So he said, unfortunately, we sent 10 names in Tanzania and they only accepted 3.
Okay.
I was like, and then he kept quiet. And I said, okay, I'm listening. He said, yeah, and unfortunately, you are part of those 3.
Okay.
I thought I didn't hear him well because I didn't understand the unfortunately part, but what was it for? And he said, can you come again? He said, man, I mean you are selected among the 3. So that's how everything started. So I was selected among the 3 to go and study in Tanzania. That's how I came to the profession, a profession that I didn't know of. So that's how I came.
Sure. So when you get there, I'm thinking of the setting. You're going to study a profession that you're not even aware of. What are your expectations from the profession? When you get there, what do you see? What sparks that passion within you that, in fact, I want to stay here? Because you could have changed careers. You could have got there and be like, this is not my cup of tea.
I think when you don't have much of a choice, because I think one thing that I like about my grandmother, I think I was still in high school. She called me, she sat me down, she said, I can only take you up to a matric level.
Okay.
Beyond that, you're going to see yourself, whether you go and look for work or you go and study. I think that conversation kind of made me realize that I needed to be serious about life if I want to have a chance of being anything. So in my matric, a lot of things that I had to ignore so that I can focus and have at least a good grades, because one thing to be begging with good grades is different than begging with bad grades.
Yeah.
At least you should do from your side so that whoever was willing to help, that at least find reason to help you. So I tried to push myself in my matric to ensure that I have at least reasonable grades. So I think that actually helped me. So to the question of what was going on in my mind when I was going there, for me, I was just happy that now I'm going to have a qualification.
Okay.
That's first things first, I'm going to have a qualification, I can make a living. So as I was going there to Tanzania, I was just like, I'm interested to find out what is the profession about. In fact, I was actually thinking, I'm going to be cutting these limbs and making limbs.
Okay,
anything.
so you thought you were going to be a
So
surgeon.
yeah, it's more like a surgeon. And you know, when you're getting a scholarship in your area, they know you got a scholarship from health. They're thinking you're going to Cuba, you're going to be a doctor and all of that. So I think once we got there, we started seeing now what is actually it that we're going to be doing. Oh, okay, this is more of an engineering and a medical, so medical engineering kind of a thing. Okay. So I only realized when we got there. But it was interesting.
Okay.
It was interesting, but also, you know, sometimes when you don't know things, you don't actually, it's true when they say, when you don't know, you don't know. I've actually never seen anyone with a prosthetic leg before. So I was like, oh, okay, there's something like this. Well, be it, so be it. So that was actually the take home for me when we got there. I don't want to lie. It took me some time to like it.
Okay.
Let's just be clear. Even when I came back, I was not actually feeling it. I think the only time I started feeling it is when someone came with a wheelchair and left with a prosthetic leg. I think there it suddenly hit home that, okay, this is what we are doing. So from there, it became different.
So you come back from Tanzania, now you are a professional. What happens then? Do you go to work straight? What do you do after that? Give us that journey of your work life, like till this part where we are right now. I will therefore introduce where we are, but I just want you to give us a perspective about what happens then when you come back from Tanzania.
When I came back from Tanzania, there was a little bit of problems, I might say, transitioning with the qualification from outside the country to South Africa. We thought we'll just hit the ground running. Coming back, because we're a bursary holder, you expect that you have a job that is lined up for you.
Yeah.
And indeed, there were jobs, because our venture to Tanzania was a recruiting and retaining strategy by the Department of Health due to the shortage of these professionals. So when we came back, we were short of the jobs. But now, the process of getting the jobs. Now imagine in Tanzania, you've been in Tanzania for so long, you're used to having your own money. You come back now, you're not going to be recruited effectively immediately. So there was that transition. And the most important thing that was a challenge for us was when we came back, it felt as if our qualification was being questioned. Now, Tanzania, why would South Africa send students to Tanzania? What is there in Tanzania? So it was kind of like questioning the quality of the education. Now we were like, why would government choose to send students to a foreign country where they are questioning the quality of education? It didn't make sense to us. And later on, we found out that we were actually expected to write a board exam.
Okay.
Now, the purpose of that board exam, to us, it meant we wanted to be evaluated if we actually know what we're supposed to know. So we actually had to sit for an exam.
Okay.
Now, imagine compassing the entire thing that you've learned over 4 years, and you're going to be examined over 2 to 3 days. So it was kind of a scary thing, because the fear was, what if you fail? Does it mean now you don't have a qualification? But fortunately, you're always given a chance to redo the exam. So I think that was a scary part when we came back. And also being integrated in the workspace, Tanzania is a very hands-on kind of a training, a sort of a hands-on activity. Whereas when we came to South Africa, we also found out there are off-the-shelf items that you actually don't have to manufacture. But it was easy to integrate, so long as you understand the basics and the science of it. So that was us coming back, and I think we got employed, I think after 6 months. By then I was already, for me, I don't like staying around. So I already found a job in Durban. I was working for a private practice in Durban. So I think I worked there for 6 months, and I was called by the department to come back. So I started serving at Free Hospital. I think I worked at Free Hospital for 3 years. I worked at hospital for 3 to 4 years. I think I don't know, I'm going to say I got bored, or I don't know, but I'll tell you a story. I started working at Free Hospital 2010 during the World Cup. 2010, 2011. In 2012, there's this day I woke up, I was like, this is it. Because our work, you understand, our work is very practical.
Yeah.
And our work, what is fulfilling mostly about our work is seeing someone walking with your device and your device changing someone's life.
Yeah.
I think for me, once I started realizing that we are limited in terms of what we can do and what we can give patients, that for me was the first thing that angered me on the question of purpose. When I realized that I can't have the resources that I need to actually give a person the best device that can enable them, I started having a problem with that. So as I was getting to understand the Department of Health, I was told, no, these things are expensive, so if you want quality things, you have to go to private. Government can only offer this limited technology. That didn't sit well with me from the onset. I think I had that about 2011 when I was asking, why are we always given the same food? Because I know there are different types of feed that are out there. So we're told we are limited. So I really had a problem with that. I think it became very serious now when actually, I think it was 2012 now, there was a teacher that came through who had an above knee amputation. So he had lost his leg because of diabetes. So he wanted actually to go back to school, go back to work. He's a teacher. So I manufactured his prosthetic leg the whole day, the whole week. And when he comes on a Friday to get his leg, he starts walking around. He said, the way he's walking, I don't like it as well. And he said, no, I'm not going to take this leg. I'm like, why? He says, I'm better off with my crutches. This leg is actually crippling me more. So I'm better off without this leg. I was like, okay. The guy actually left on crutches. So I think from there, for me, there was something that was planted inside of me that just made me realize that I'm done here. Because what I'd fallen in love with the profession was what it was actually doing in people's lives. So for me, I then came to a conclusion that for me, it is inhumane of us to limit technology to people with disabilities who are having a functional need. So if the fundamentals of rehabilitation is to enhance the human capacity, we can't then limit the very same technology which is meant to enhance their quality of life. So from that day, that was for me to say, there's something that I need to do about it. But I don't know what, but I knew there was something I needed to do. So that was basically my transition. I think that's when I took a decision that I'm going to leave the government space. So that was the birth of something. So that rejection kind of pushed me to my purpose, because that always angered me that I can't enable people while I'm still serving the department.
Sure. I relate to what you're saying so much. I think I actually called you about this patient. There was a boy that came. I was also I was also serving at the same hospital that he was serving at, and there was a boy who came and he had cancer, and he was amputated within hemipelvic, the hip joint. Yes, he was amputated there. Obviously, we don't have the technology for that. So this boy, he's coming. He's about 15 years old. He comes in, and I think I was in the clinic that day. He comes in. He's from Port St. John's. He says to me, "Hi, Sissy, I'm here, and I was told that I can get a leg." I go inside with him to the consultation room, and I look at him and I see the kind of amputation that we have, and it just hit me that moment that we are not going to be able to help this person. And fortunately, the deputy director was there, so I go to them quickly and just to ask is there a possibility to even request just even 2 or 3 of these technologies that we can actually make this prosthetic leg for this person. Because for me, I kind of relate with my patients on a deeper level, like on an emotional level. So when we got there, he got to tell me like just his background, and it moved me, and I saw just the desire that he had. He wanted to walk. That's all he wanted. He was 15. He has his whole life ahead of him. And he was told that if he comes to East London Free Hospital, he was going to walk. Now, I have to be a practitioner that tells him that no, you're not going to walk. And I remember just breaking down that much that day. Because when I had to go report back, because I didn't tell him immediately that we can't help him. I started maneuvering, just trying to see, and also just trying to call Luguti, don't you have something that you can help? And I saw that no one could help at that moment. And as I spoke to the bosses and I was listening to the reasons that she was giving me, also I just realized Ukuti Nagoya, this is beyond her power. She's limited to how far she can go. So I went back and I told this boy, and I saw tears just running down his face. A 15-year-old boy. He's with his sister, and he actually asked his sister to get out to go get something for him, so that he could cry. Like he cried, and I couldn't hold myself because I was just like, then why am I here?
Exactly.
Because as you're saying that our career, the fulfillment comes from actually seeing your work change a person's life. So that is the purpose. That is the whole point. When you are in varsity and you guys introduced this thing to us, we had big imagination that we were going to change people's lives. Now you get here and you realize, but no, this is actually limited. This is how far you can go. So I also want us to get to this point when you mentioned that for you purpose is answered in 3 points, which is the problem that just cannot move away from you, and just understanding that you can actually sort this problem for free. So I want us to talk about that. Now you move from the government facility and you realize that actually this fulfillment that you thought you had is not there anymore. How do you get to a point where you are fulfilling this purpose, where you get to a point that this career actually meets this purpose that we are talking about today?
I think in 2012, generally when working for a hospital, I think it was just a year of everyone had to do a self-assessment, self-introspection to say, do I really want to be here? There was one of my colleagues actually were left that year to go and study medicine.
Yeah.
So I think it was just a time for everyone to kind of reflect. And as I was reflecting, I was like, P&O, that is our work, might not be where we wanted to be at that time, but we realized that there are good prospects of it for the future. And we felt like if we are going to run away from it, it means it will never change.
Sure.
So it was very clear that a lot had to be changed, but I didn't have a know-how then as into how am I going to go about it. So I think 2012, I was actually even ready to go and stay at home and be like, you know what, if I can't change lives, this is not helping me either. So I was actually ready to walk away. I think a friend of mine from Namibia, you know, when they say when a student is ready, a teacher shows up, he just shared a scholarship with me from the Australian government. And he was telling me he's actually accepted for that scholarship. So I look at that scholarship, I was like, so the scholarship was actually from the Australian government, I think in collaboration with South Africa and other African countries, where they identify young professionals who are in scarce skills or a service that needs to be developed within that country. So South African government identified areas that needs improvement. So I was like, this is my industry.
Sure.
So I actually had to write an entire document to kind of show how would this help the department. Is it in line with the department? What are the policies saying? Is it in the plans of the department? So I actually had to go and read highly classified documents which are above my paycheck. So, but that kind of helped me in a way when I was preparing for the presentation, because that presentation you had to go and present in Pretoria in the Australian embassy. So they also bring people from national to kind of see if this aligns with what can develop the country. So the mandate was now, I'm going to take this education that I'm coming with from Australia to kind of come and do change in South Africa. So I then was fortunate to get that scholarship as well to go and study in Australia. So When I came back, I went to join Walter Sisulu University. But at that time, I already know that I'm going to start my own business. But, you know, for you to get somewhere, you have to use what's within you. Some things, some solutions you can't see from where you are. You've got to move to the next point. From the next point, you can see another point. So I had to move to a Walter Sisulu University. And that was also influenced by the fact that we were aware as the Department of Health that there's going to be a new training at Walter Sisulu. And because we had BScs, we were kind of considered to lecture, and we were actually advised to upgrade or improve our qualifications so that we can lecture. I was fortunate because I was interviewed by Walter Sisulu because I was already doing masters in Australia. So they were like, I'm a better prospect because I'm already doing masters. So I was interviewed while I was in Australia. So when I came back, I'd already knew that I'm having a job. So for me, being at WUSU, one was on a personal level, it was to kind of, you know, when you want to start a business, you want to command, you want to, you know, when having that title of an academic, there's an element of believability that comes with that because you're an expert in the subject matter. So I wanted to enhance that side of mine. So I was like, okay, let me go to the university. But some things you can't shy away from them. They always haunt you. That's another thing with your purpose. It haunts you.
Yeah.
So while I was there in the university, I'm training you guys. And unfortunately at that time, I don't have a place where I can practice. Remember, our work is practical.
Yeah.
In other fields, like in MPCHP, doctors are actually seeing patients. They're employed by the university. They're employed by the hospital.
Yeah.
So with us, it was not that case.
Yeah.
So for us, the only practical I could do is when I'm having with you guys. So I was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to start my business while I'm here in the university, to nurture my skill and also to create a space where the students can actually see the high-end technology that is available out there, because at some point we knew that when you guys qualify, you don't want to go and open your practices. So we need to prepare you guys so that when you qualify, you can actually go and run your own practice. So part of my starting my business was to do that as well.
Okay.
To also create a space where I can help students for experiential learning, see the high-end technology. So I was like, let me start. And that was the start of actually my business. That's how I transitioned to coming back to South Africa and then contributing to the education. But on my personal capacity, I was there to advance my profile so that I can be able to start what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. He is an entrepreneur. He is the CEO of Ludada and Associates and Sipotech, which is a Secretary of Prosthetics and Orthotics. It's a business that kinds of it helps the people with prosthetic devices or orthotic devices to kind of retain or recycle those devices, because we realized that, I think he realized that if you have a crutch and then in a few months that then you have recovered, that crutch, you leave it somewhere and you don't know what to do with it particularly. So he introduced Usipotech, where he buys these devices from the patient's back and they get something out of it. He is, I think already has mentioned that he is an Australian award winner. He is actually a nominee for the Sponsors of Brave as well. So he has done a lot of things within the field that to fulfill this this career meets purpose topic we're actually talking about. Above and beyond, as our lecture with the Australian Awards, there was a project that he was doing where he supplied about 35 prosthetic devices to people coming from rural areas or all the disadvantaged backgrounds that we were having. So we got to do that with him as well. So there's a lot that he has done. He has inspired people. He's inspired us as his students as well. When we look at him, we look at him and we're like, oh, actually there is hope within the field. So with that summary of what he has done, this is just a tip of the iceberg of what he has done. So I want him now to dive in and how his business actually became his purpose, because most of the time, one thing you always say repeatedly, so without fail to me, is that Zenande, I don't do what I do for profit. Profit is just a byproduct of what I do. Essentially, he says that he doesn't treat patients for money. And for me, I can attest to that. I've seen him work. I've seen his passion as his student as well as his colleague now. But essentially, so I want him to take us back. In this economy that we are in, everything that we do, if we are starting a business, the reason why we are starting a business, we want to have multiple streams of income. We want to have money. So how is it that when now you speak of your business, a business within the health field, and you say it is not a means to make a profit? So I want us to dive into that and just take us through your business. What is the core reason for you to have Uludada and Associates as well as Sipotech? You can touch that a little bit, but let's go into that and just explain to us how is that your purpose.
Okay. We've already indicated the issue of a purpose, no?
Yeah.
And if you have paid attention to what I told you, is that I've gotten scholarships from the South African government, Department of Health, from the Australian government, and from a supplier. So I'm actually sitting with 3 scholarships.
Sure.
Forget the 4th one that I didn't take on. And then when I was pursuing my business, I actually got a lot of fundings from private companies. SAB, Palowel Dimbeo, I'm talking about 1.2 million from Palowel Dimbeo, 250,000 from SAB, 850,000 from Metropolitan Health. Now, why am I getting all of this?
Okay.
You then start to wonder. I'm getting bursaries left, right, and center. Now I'm starting a business. I'm getting funding left, right, and center. Is this really about me? All of these things, they have a cause. The scholarship from the Department of Health had a cause. When we were recruited, they said they're looking for students who are going to come back and serve disadvantaged communities because our services were not taken to those areas. The Australian scholarship said when people are going to come and develop their profession in their own countries, there is a cause there. When these companies were funding my business, they were funding it because there was a cause of serving marginalized people with disabilities. So if you look into that, it was just never about me. Now, I cannot then make it about me. So for me, business for me is a tool. It's basically a tool. So business, the purpose of a business is not to make money. The purpose of a business is to do good in the society.
Sure.
So that's what business means to me. So when I pursued my business, in my mind I saw bridging the gap between private and public. For me, I want to give you an analogy so that you understand where I come from. You know, when you are raised, when you're coming from the homes that we come from, disadvantaged backgrounds, you see your parents are sacrificing all that they have for you to get that qualification. Either they want to sell their livestock, they do a lot of things, they get loans so that you get that first degree at home. You become the first person to have a qualification at home. And you know the stories during graduation, the excitement and all of that, because they can see the light. Now, the analogy is that that is done at a home level. Those are your parents doing it for you because you are their child. Now for me, it was a different level. I've gotten all those from a government level. Now, the stakes are high. There's always a cause. Government has a bigger cause. Australian government had a bigger cause. The companies gave me those money because of a bigger cause. So it was never about me. So how I see an amputee to me is different because I've been given the education. Now, an education is a tool. So I therefore cannot be given such an education and I can't do anything about it. So I can't leave the status quo as I found it. Then it would mean the education was irrelevant. So for me, my business is a way for me to express myself, to express the education that I've. People don't care about the qualifications. They only care about what are the outcomes of it. So for me, business is a space that gives me that. I do what I want, how I want it.
Sure.
So what I think of doing, I'll do because business gives me that luxury to express myself. So that is why I founded the business that I founded, because there's a gap that I want to close. So I look at government for me as that parent I was talking about. When you come back home with your first salary, you feel like you can change everything at home because you have the means, you are here to improve. So for me, it's more about societal change. So for me, government was at a certain stage and I'm capable to improve on that because I'm here because of them. It started with them. So for me, I feel like I have a lot of value to do that, to add on to what they're actually offering. So in my own world, I don't think limiting people technology is a way to go. I feel like it was a shortcut for them to say, let's rather cut care. For me, rather cut cost, not care.
Okay.
So for me, that's where I'm coming from. So the businesses that I've had, they're all out to improve the quality of life of people with disabilities.
Okay.
So that is how I view businesses.
All right. Okay. No, I'm so I'm so moved. I'm really so moved. I also just want us now, as we probably about to close, I guess. You spoke about that your responsibility basically is to serve the government, or to serve the society. Sorry, to be quite correct. I just want to ask questions that, with the things that you have done, can you say that your career has met your purpose? And do you sleep at night with a peaceful heart that you are doing exactly what you were born to do in this world?
I'll say yes and no, because when I look into, I think all these years what I've been trying to find is a model that can actually create, let me put it this way. You see, when you look at private, private is working. Private is a machine that is working, but the question is working for who? For people who designed it, it's working for them.
Yeah.
They might not see a problem, but from where I'm coming from, when I look at it, it's not working.
Okay.
So it depends who's looking, from which background are they looking. Then you start realizing we are trying to fit a hand in a wrong glove.
Sure.
I can't tell a person from rural areas that a leg is 150,000, even 100,000, even 50,000, because I know it's not there. But this person wants to walk just the same as someone who can actually afford with a medical insurance. So the question then is, why are we here? Why did we come to this profession? Was it to come and fit in, or to come and shake things up? So that's a question that all of us have to answer. If you're in the profession, there's a reason that you're in the profession.
Yeah.
I'm not guilt-tripping people, but I'm just feeling like, for me, that's how I feel about it. For me, I've gotten a lot in the profession already, so I feel like it's time to give back. But giving back, you can't give back from an empty cup.
Yeah.
So another reason of running a business, you have to run a business that is self-sustainable. So we are trying to create models, or testing models. Like you mentioned, one model that we actually tested was to see if students and lecturers could be a tool of service delivery in the community. That was the purpose of that exercise that we did with the Australian government, which they funded. And we actually learned from that yes, we can provide people with these quality technologies, but now, later on, they actually called me to say, I'm at Free Hospital or I'm at Bedford. They can't fix this leg because the technology is advanced. And we realized that that model was not sustainable because where are they going to get this technology again? So fortunately, Australian government again has actually funded me again, because my request now was, we want to try something which can be self-sustainable, which means if we give people these devices, they should be able to maintain them. So we are coming with a different model altogether. So to answer your question, I've not done much to say I can sleep peacefully, but I can say the model now is in place, which is explained by the two businesses that I have already, which are working towards that. So it's a work in progress, which I feel like also the channel now is also going to, because you can be misconstrued when you're trying to do something, especially something that has never been done before. You can be misconstrued to think that you are doing things that are not supposed to be done, but it depends where you're looking, where you're coming from. So the channel gives me that platform as well, so that everything is clear, is communicated, what I'm doing. From now on, whatever that I'm going to do, actually this episode is for everyone to understand. If at some point you'll be like, why is this guy doing this thing? I want people to come back to this episode to understand that it's the desire that you have when your parents have given it all to you. That edge that you have that you want to change. But for me, it's a bigger exercise, which I need to live something that can be, at least leave people with disabilities feeling like whatever investment that has been given to me has changed their lives in a way. So for me, that's what it's about.
Sure. As you're mentioning these tools that you've already put in place, it's just reminding me of how I felt also, how our field is a bit tricky. Whether you are in public you can't, as much as you're saying you're serving the disadvantaged community, but you don't have all the equipment and the tools to do so, to give them the best care possible. As you're saying that already our government has cut costs to say that we can't do this because of the expense and whatnot. And then you come to private and then you feel like you are just making profit. This is a money game. I think we also had a conversation that even in private, the percentage that is actually served by you, it's like out of 100% of people living with disabilities, there's only 16% of people that can actually even afford these prosthetic devices. So I just wanted to be very clear that it's just a difficult thing to be in, especially if you want to live a purposeful life, that you're not just chasing after money, you are chasing after purpose. And at the same time, the very place that you feel like you were to serve or you were to feel most purposeful in, it does not give you the resources or the equipment for you to do that. I think I did mention to you a few times that I never thought that business was my thing, because I had this vision that you can only serve through the government. And for you now to actually come up with this and actually speak on this, that your business actually gives you a platform to express yourself in these different ways, and also just try things or innovate things that are not done before, and actually even give you the environment to try out, to see if we do this, can it serve the community like that. So I'm actually, I don't know what's the word, but I love what you're saying, and I hope that it just gives a perspective to also get a deeper understanding on what you do. Because Nyani, from afar, it's just like, oh, this guy keeps on having different ideas. Oh, he's here now. Oh, he's doing Supertech now. And we don't get the reason behind it. And for you to explain it this way, it makes us understand that it's not just a money-making scheme.
I think, of course, the industry has made it look like when you're going to private, you're going to make money.
Yeah.
And there is money.
Yeah.
If I don't know what I should say, if you're looking for money, there is money. But it also depends why you started business. That is why it's very important. Why is very important.
Sure.
Because when you understand your why, because if I was doing this for money, tell you me, I would have left long time ago, because there is no money.
Okay.
There is no money to get. Remember, we're only serving 16% of the population.
And how many are you?
And how many are we? There are a lot of, now I'm having students that, my students are in the profession, running private practice, so it's literally dog eat dog. You refer the patient, if you're not fast enough, someone is fitted already to that patient. So it looks like it's a very unprofessional kind of a thing. So for me, there's a quick market research that we did starting from March, ending now in May, about prosthetics only. And people who inquired about prosthetic devices, I think it was around 300 amputees. 97% of those, whenever I told them the price, they never came back to me because they cannot afford. And I gave them the lowest prices possible they could not afford. So it just dawned on me that, am I in the business of profit, or this is a business of impact? Now for me, from where I'm coming from the background I've given you, I looked at it, I was like, at some point I was that amputee. I didn't have qualifications, I didn't have everything, but money was not the reason. Money didn't stop me from getting the qualifications that I have. So when I see a person without a limb, for me, it just reminds me that money should not be the reason for them not to be able to be mobile. So for me, the education that I have for me is, for me, it's like I'm playing a game now. How am I going to get these amputees' legs? So my mind subconsciously is always running. What's the most cost-effective way I can get people walking? So a person who doesn't have a leg, for me, I relate to that person differently because I am here because of their cause.
Yeah.
If you get me. All the funding was having a cause. So whenever I see one, I relate differently. I just don't like someone who cannot have a leg simply because they don't have money.
Sure.
Now, I don't have money to give them legs, but I don't think I've never always thought of money as a problem or as a hindrance. I don't think it's money first. I feel like there's a lot that if you're going for anything that you want to start, if you're going to put money first, forget about it. I don't think it's the best way to look at things. There's a lot that you can apply in your mind before you need money. You don't start a business with money. You start a business by having clients. Now, if you want to help people, this is not my problem. This is a societal problem. The easiest thing we could do is to have this channel to communicate. Somehow there's someone who's having means, who doesn't know what to do with those funds. Those people will come on board. But we just have to play our role. We just have to create models that are cost effective, that can help those communities. So everyone has just to play their part.
Sure. Amazing. Amazing. So money is not the initial thing that you need.
Money helps you grow what you've already started.
Yeah.
You can't start a business by needing money first. Let us see what you have been doing all these years. What have you been building? I can't trust you. I can't trust you without a track record.
Sure.
You need to show what models have you been practicing. Right now, if someone were to ask me, show me your track record, I will show them my track record. This is what I've been growing the business. I've been running the business for 8 years. I can show them the track record of what I've been actually doing. So the answer is in the pudding. Do something. Let people find you doing something with the little that you have.
Sure. Yeah, no, and that is true. And I'm also thinking that I've been looking online. I don't know if our phones listen to us or something. You know, when you talk about, I've been talking about starting a business, and obviously what we talk about when you're about to start a business, talk about funding. And a lot of pop-ups within my algorithm, like it's been like funders. But the first thing they will ask you, has your business made so much within a year?
So probably also why we started this channel, because we can't do this thing alone.
Yeah.
We need strategic partners. So whoever relates to the story, whether the story of upbringing, whether the story of helping people, someone somehow is going to relate to a certain story.
Sure.
So I also feel like generally it's always nice to put a story. Maybe it can inspire someone. Maybe there's someone who's having an upbringing that they think is the worst upbringing, but I think 90% it's not what occurs to you, it's how you respond to it. So we can't really prevent things from occurring, but it's basically how you respond to it. I feel like you really need to have a strong grit. Life is not sweet.
Sure. I can talk to you all day. I'm realizing as you're talking, I'm having more questions. I'm thinking, no, we have to close. So I need you to give me closing remarks. And in your closing remarks, I want you to touch on, there's that young person there that thinks, what is my purpose? How do I find my purpose? So I want you to speak to them that, like, give advice how or what, or give an answer on what they need particularly. And for the people that are already working and already making money but are feeling a sense of being unfulfilled by what they're doing, what can they do? Because at the end of the day, I don't think we want to live unfulfilled lives. I feel like it breaks us more. It makes us to be cynical people. I think most of the crimes even come from a lot of us being unfulfilled by what we have or what we have acquired and all these things. So I want you to speak to the people who want to find their purpose and just give a brief summary of what they can do, and if there's step A or step B or just something. And also to the people that are doing something already but are already feeling so unfulfilled by whatever they are doing. Yeah, I think you touched on it, but just
I don't know the
summary.
merits of me giving people advice, but what I would say from my point of view, I think the answers are not out there.
Okay.
The answers are within.
Sure.
You can look around and look until you get tired. The answers are within, but it's just that we are living in a very chaotic world. We think things are out there, but the more you look inside, the more you kind of realize that everything that I need is within me.
Sure.
God cannot bring you here and then don't give you the tools necessary for you to do what you're supposed to do. But it's just that we don't really take time off and listen to ourselves and pay attention to things that are calling for our attention.
Sure.
Problem that bothers you tells you something. Something that comes natural to you that you can resolve with ease. That should be telling you something. Something that you enjoy doing. Something that you feel like, you know what? This doesn't feel like a job to me. If your job is not something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
So those are pointers for me that kind of gives you a green light to say, I need to start paying attention to what I like, to what comes easy, that comes natural. Sports people, if you're skillful in that particular thing, start paying attention to it. So for me, that's the only advice I would give. As for people who are already in spaces that they feel like they're not inspired or they're not feeling like it's their purpose, I think the answer is still the same.
Yeah.
I think they know for sure that where they are,
It's
not where they're supposed to be. The question is, what can you do about it? I know we're living in a very tough economic time. Sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy to give away things, but I usually say, I think there was a time where I got the Australian government bursary. I needed to go while I was working for the Department of Health, and the department rejected my study leave. So they were like, you can't go because you're a bursary holder. I was like, hell no. So if you really can't sacrifice for what you want to become,
Sure.
then you don't deserve it to be, because you've got to live when you have to live. You've got to do what you have to do. So if you can't really compromise, then it's on you.
Sure.
So pretty much that's all I could give as an advice. I don't know if it's an advice or it's an opinion, but that's what has worked for me.
Okay, I think it's truth. I don't know. I think it's truth, especially on the sacrificing part. I feel like if you're not willing to sacrifice what you have to actually get what you really need, or yeah, what you have to what you really need to do, then honestly, there's no point for you, or there's no reason, or you can't actually find that purpose or whatnot. But I also like this part that you're saying that the answers are not outside, especially in a society where we live in a social media platform where people are doing things everywhere. We have videos, we have access to a lot of information as well. And we think maybe we'll find your answers in seeing so and so. They might inspire you, but not necessarily that you will find your purpose in looking at them.
Exactly.
I love the fact that you need to, I think we need to get to a point where we're able to sit with self and introspect and realize what is within you, what is this one thing, this thing of what bothers you. I know without a doubt that there's something that bothers everyone somewhere, somehow. No, but even if it's a small thing, there's something that bothers you. So that is how your career can meet purpose, or what you are doing, or your job can meet purpose, your business can meet purpose. And with that being said, I think we've come to the end of our episode. I don't know if you want to add something, or I want to ask questions.
No. I think I've